Way back in the early 90s, I read an article in a magazine about Buddhism. It was an interview with a woman who lived in a Buddhist intentional community. And the interviewer was trying to get her to talk about the difficulties and struggles of living in male-dominated community, but she wasn't interested in that. She just kept saying, well, if I have a problem, I always find the answer by looking within. And that struck me, and it stuck with me all these years because I found it entirely unsatisfactory, because I knew full well racists, rapists, misogynists, capitalist colonizers, these people are the ones with the problem. They're the ones that need to be fixed, not me. I'm Rachel Krager Ireland, and I bring you tools and strategies for living in your power in interesting times. And I lived in that attitude for a while. I manifested it in an intimate partnership with a person who called himself an anarchist and an activist, though he was in fact the most punctilious, judgmental, and controlling person I've ever known. So we didn't have a great relationship. We had great ideals though. We wanted to tear everything down and start over and build it up better and new, and we wanted to smash the state and smash the patriarchy and eat the rich and liberate animals and liberate ourselves in the process. But we weren't very effective at that. We located all of the problems outside of ourselves, so all these protests and direct actions and all the endless debates about politics and strategy really didn't come to much of anything. We had an adversarial, competitive relationship. It was manipulative to the point of abuse, and other people didn't want to be around us. So I managed to extricate myself from that situation with great difficulty. And I felt at that time like getting out of there was the greatest achievement I'd had yet. I didn't have much to compare it to other than graduating from college. So now I had earned my degree in living in my own inner knowing and not letting that be superseded by someone else's truth. Because we did all that outer work, but we didn't do our inner work, which I will define loosely as introspection, contemplation, meditation that's undertaken with the intention and the willingness to change and to be changed. We didn't do that stuff. So I was gone, and now I didn't want to have anything to do with activists anymore because I felt like such a hypocrite when I couldn't even manage a relationship with one person. Here I was trying to change the world, and I didn't want to have anything to do with anarchists because they all reminded me of him. So you can see how a person who was so committed and dedicated to the outer work ended up only driving an ally out of the movement altogether. But I think we all know or know of a person who is a leader or an activist or, God help us, a politician who is so committed to doing everything needed out in the world but doesn't do their own inner work, and it brings them down. So at this time I knew I needed to do my inner work, and I did a lot of massage therapy, and I learned it for myself to help other people. I meditated and I did yoga, I did rebirthing and past life regression and A Course in Miracles, and most importantly I forgave everyone, including myself, for being so stupid. But forgiveness is not just saying, you've done a terrible thing, I forgive you. That's not how you do it. Forgiveness is when we recognize that my eternal soul, my higher self, my most essential nature, which is so much bigger and greater than this physical body that I inhabit, it's one with the divine, and therefore can never be harmed in any way. So if no one's ever hurt me, I have nothing to forgive anyone for. And at that point, I was liberated because I started to feel even a deep gratitude to this person who had escorted me into all these precious life lessons that I was learning. I started to see that when I had done all that work out in the world, but I didn't do the inner work, nothing came of it. But when I did the inner work first, then the outer work came much more easily and naturally, and made a real difference in the world. And all those limitations that I had thought were holding me back from the life that I wanted, it turned out they were all in my mind. And the freedom that I had struggled and fought for so fiercely had been available to me all along. And then I started to see that my own calling out into the world is to help other people and assist them in their own inner work. So I'd like to leave you with two things today. First of all, if you do any kind of creative work or collaging or journaling, take a little bit of that this week or so and devote that to studying the inner and the outer. Think about what that means for you, where you've come from, where you are now. And if there's anything in your life that you perceive to be lacking or not right, ask yourself if there is a way you can find to begin right now to live into that life that you are called to. And secondly, there's a prayer, and it's originally from A Course in Miracles. We get it through Marianne Williamson in her book Return to Love. So anytime you perceive that something is lacking or wrong, or you're unhappy or disturbed in any way, could even be a good thing, like a new love blossoming or an exciting new opportunity, whatever it is that's big, that's happening for you, first thing you do is pray. I don't care who you pray to, just doesn't matter. Pray to your higher self if that's who you're most comfortable with. But what you pray for is a change in perspective. And I've done this many times over the years. I can tell you, every time, no matter how certain I am that this problem I'm looking at is out there in someone else's hands, and nothing I do or say or think could have any effect on it whatsoever, I say this prayer: please give me a change in perspective. It always comes, and it makes everything okay. It might not make it okay that there is still a lot of pain and suffering and injustice out there, but it makes it okay for me to be who I am, here, now, doing the work that is asked of me. So consider these things for this week, and I'd love to hear your experiences. Come back and tell me about them in the comments, and subscribe for ongoing tools and strategies for living in your power in interesting times.